Guys, welcome back to the Lifted podcast. I wanted this entire podcast to be about vulnerability. Um, I I don't really know why. I think recently I've been feeling like I have been more vulnerable. And let me explain just all of vulnerability, everything around it, why I kind of thought of it, and why I'm making an entire podcast about it. So, I used to have just crazy anxiety. And I know I've said this in previous podcasts where I was like, I didn't know I had anxiety, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on of like things I didn't know that I had. But, anyways, I had anxiety and I literally wouldn't even express like my emotions, how I was feeling, what I was feeling. Like, I was kind of scared to express everything, and I was almost scared to be a person, like my own individual person, because I was scared of judgment, of what other people were going to think or what they were going to say or whatever it was. Isn't that crazy? That we can actually live our lives going through the motions and being completely terrified and not even telling people like how we feel or like expressing any sort of emotion, feeling, fear. Yeah. Isn't that's scary, kind of. I I think my problem was I was so scared to be vulnerable when I had all this anxiety. And realistically, vulnerability helps you connect with people. It helps you also just get a better sense of like yourself. Like you actually respect yourself a little bit more when you're a little bit more vulnerable. And yeah, I feel like I always walked around like high school, whatever. I was like, I can't make any mistakes. I have to be perfect. I did my hair and makeup every single fucking day for high school. If you guys knew me in high school, please stop watching my podcast. No, I'm just kidding. If you knew me in high school, you knew that I had like caked on makeup. My hair was always done. I spent hours in the mornings getting ready, and I don't even think I looked that good. Like if I'm being honest, I look back at pictures, I'm like, "Oh my God, you looked awful." But not that I would say that, but still. It's just crazy how much time I spent putting myself together, which I think we should spend time putting ourselves together, but to the point of spending hours on my hair, hours on my makeup, hours on my outfits. And like for what? Judgment, and to be like this little package that nobody could judge because I was like, I don't want to give anyone any reason to judge me. What the fuck? What? And also being this person that doesn't make mistakes and stuff. Like think about, okay, if you think about the girl at your gym, there's probably a girl at your gym that has like resting bitch face, which I realistically think we all have. Um, but all the time she has resting bitch face. She's never smiling. She always thinks she's kind of better than everyone. She's kind of got that vibe. Like, think about how you feel when you think about that person. You're probably like, don't really want to talk to her. I mean, she doesn't look that nice. So I'm like, you don't really want to engage with that person, right? So it's really hard to build connections with people that aren't vulnerable and that aren't, showing their feelings and their fears and whatever. But then you think about that girl at the gym that I don't know, maybe she embarrasses herself like all the time, but she just laughs at herself. Like she thinks it's funny. She just like she almost makes you feel good because you're like, fuck, I do that sometimes. Like honestly, I've tripped over a weight before or like I've totally stubbed my toe on a bench and just laughed about it. It almost makes you feel better about yourself because you're like, fuck, I can really relate. Like I did that last week, you know? So as much as we want to say that vulnerability is like people say that it's maybe a weakness or whatever it is, but it really isn't. Like it shows so much confidence in someone if they can be vulnerable. If you can talk about your fears and your emotions and your feelings. And um yeah, fears, emotions, feelings, anything that makes you feel like someone could react in a way that is maybe not positive. You're like, that is not showing weakness. That's like literally building confidence. Um, and people are able to relate to that. People are able to, you know, take that and actually be like, oh shit, like I was saying before, like I've tripped over the bench before, so you're more inclined to talk to that person, you're more inclined to make a better connection. Um, Vulnerability just makes it builds connection like crazy. So I want to tell you guys some stories from the gym of how I've been vulnerable in the past, but also in the present, and just how I push myself to be vulnerable because I feel like putting myself out there and putting myself in those situations has actually helped me so much, like building friendships and honestly just trusting myself a little bit more, being a little bit more confident in myself, being able to put myself in these situations that maybe I was never comfortable in before. So, my first little story about vulnerability is when I met some of my friends, Janelle and Jamie. Shout out to you guys. I literally love these two. They're like, I met them at the gym and they're such a vibe to be around. And I think I knew that when I saw them and when I kind of met them. And I really pushed myself out of my comfort zone because, okay, so Janelle, she came up to me actually and she was like, oh my God, I actually forget. I think she was just like, oh, you're that girl that gets high on TikTok. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And then we kind of started talking. Like, I think I got her Instagram and stuff. We started talking, and I was like, oh my God, it'd be so cool to get a couple girls, go to the gym, and just like vibe at the gym together. So I invited her. And of course, she said yes. And that, you guys, that took so much fucking effort to do because putting yourself in that situation of even, first of all, girls are scary. She's not scary, but girls in general are scary. And it's almost like worse than dating. You're like, if I ask this girl, I mean, she could be a bitch. She could be like, no, I don't want to go to the gym with you. I don't know. She could say something outrageous. Or she could be like, hell yeah, I want to go to the gym. But you just never know. Like, you're putting yourself out there. You guys know how scary girls can be. You're putting yourself out there and you're asking someone to do something with you. And you're like, I could get completely fucking rejected. And I just have to deal with that shit, you know? So Jamie was kind of the same. So I met her at the gym. I invited her. Both of them were really excited. But again, like I had no idea who these girls were. I was like, I don't even know if they actually like the gym that much. Yes, they're at the gym and I met them at the gym. But like for someone like me, I'm pretty obsessed with going to the gym, training, lifting, like whatever. A lot of girls aren't really like that, especially, yeah. I mean, if you're in the fitness world, you are, but just because you met someone at the gym doesn't mean they're obsessed with fitness, okay? So I had no idea what was going to happen, and they both said yes. We had a great time. It was one of the best times at the gym. It was like probably 2 years ago. And yeah, that like once again, building connections through vulnerability. And I think all of us, all three of us, when we were at the gym, we were very open. Like we would say things that I don't know. She shared that like she uses Vaseline on her lips, which if I'm being honest, when I was in high school, I never would have told anyone anything because I was so scared of just who's going to judge me for like what products I use or like what I don't know. You know how people judge you like crazy for literally anything? So it's scary to be vulnerable. It's honestly terrifying. Even other times when I'm at the gym, I will go up to strangers. I will go up to girls that they're wearing these bright blue leggings or these bright pink leggings. And I'm like, I'm going to go compliment her or whatever I want to do. I'll go compliment them, but it takes so much in you to go and do that because you're like, holy shit, if I compliment them and she just like is like, bitch, fuck off. Like, why are you talking to me right now? You know? Realistically, most people aren't going to say that, but you never know. You literally never know. Like, and that's the thing is you could get completely rejected. Another thing is when I'm filming in the gym, I feel like that's such a vulnerable spot to be in because you've got this tripod. So anyone that films will understand this. Anyone that doesn't film, you'll still probably understand this in some part of your life. You've got this tripod. I mean, I had a mic, so I was like running around the gym with a mic on. And you, people are looking at you. People are like, what the fuck is this bitch doing? However, and some people will never get it, and it's fine. Other people came up to me and they were like, you actually inspired me to start like filming, to start filming in the gym, to start not caring what people think, to start doing things that I actually enjoy doing, which maybe it is filming. Maybe it's being comfortable filming and pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And I built connections through that because I was being vulnerable. I had my tripod out. I was in this vulnerable space of like, everyone's looking at me. I'm also posting some stupid random TikToks, which they're not stupid. I teach you guys some stuff sometimes. Occasionally they're stupid, but it's fine. We're all kind of here for the humor, anyways. And you're just in this crazy vulnerable position posting these TikToks, hoping that people will understand what you're putting out. But there's always, you can get rejected and you can get yelled at in the middle of the gym. We've also seen videos where these girls will be filming and some dude will come yell at them. And it's like, that's kind of scary, you know? So I feel like in my life, vulnerability has just, I think I have decided that if you're not vulnerable and you don't put yourself in these vulnerable situations, it doesn't give you room to fuck up. And I think my conclusion on fucking up is when you fuck up, you give yourself more opportunity, which sounds crazy, I know. But my logic with this is the more you fuck up, okay, if you think about it, say you're in a grocery store. This is going to be the most random analogy or example that I've ever thought of, but it'll work. So, when you go into a grocery store and I don't know, uh, you buy some apples, right? So you've got this bag of apples and you're putting yourself, this is really actually very crazy. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's getting even crazier. You're putting yourself in a vulnerable situation just by holding the apples because who knows, you could drop a fucking apple in the middle of the grocery store. And that's kind of embarrassing because you're in the middle of the grocery store and you're like, oh my God, I just dropped an apple. I bruised an apple. What do I do? Where do I go? What am I supposed to do? So if you didn't drop that apple, or if you do drop that apple, you dropped it in the middle of a whatever section and this guy comes up and he picks it up and he's like, oh, here, you dropped this. I don't even know if this is making sense, but we're going to continue on with this train of thought. So he brings it to you and he's like, you dropped this apple. And you're like, oh my God, I think I just fell in love. And so you guys start dating and whatever. If you never put yourself in the vulnerable situation of dropping the apple, you never would have met him. And maybe he can relate. Maybe he's like, I dropped an apple 2 weeks ago in the same fucking grocery store. See, guys, I'm telling you, this is a crazy analogy, but it works. If he didn't relate to that, you guys would never be dating and maybe you got married and lived happily ever after, okay? I'm just saying that when you put yourself in these vulnerable situations, for instance, some of the girls that have come on the podcast, this is maybe more relatable to you guys. Some of the girls that have come on the podcast and talked about their vulnerable situations, you would never relate to them if they didn't talk about that. And I think even having girls on the podcast and them talking about whatever they talked about, whether it was depression, eating disorder, addiction, I feel like I have connected really well with these women because they've opened up about this stuff. They've been completely open in the vulnerable positions that they've been in. Depression, I was also depressed. So the way that we could relate on that level was so much deeper than surface level. if you have these conversations with people and okay, when I was younger and I was like scared to, open up about feelings and talk about anything that I was going through or whatever, it was really hard to build connections. And I don't think I really learned how to build connections until I would even say this year, because I was so focused when I was growing up on being this girl that was not that I was really fake. And I think I opened up to some of my friends, but to any strangers, to anyone that really didn't know me, I felt like I put up this little wall of like, I don't feel anything. I don't, uh, yeah, I'm not scared of anything. Like, it was almost like I don't have needs, I don't have wants, I don't have aspirations, I don't have emotions. And when you do this, you're able to connect with your closest friends if you're being vulnerable with them. But if you don't do that, like you will never relate to anyone. And it makes it really hard because I'm even listening to a lot of these podcasts that are all like, oh, like you have to have connection in your life in order to be healthy and stuff, which who even knew? Like, who knew that human connection and just having connection with friends, family, whatever was so important? But like, one of the most important things with that connection is being vulnerable and being able to relate. Otherwise, a lot of your relationships, and I have learned this recently, tons of your relationships and most of your relationships are going to be so surface level because all you're going to talk about is surface level shit. You're probably going to be like, what, bitching about other people, judging other people. I think once you leave that judgment, once you take judgment out of your life, now that I'm going on a rant, um I'm so passionate about this, I think. When you stop judging other people, you almost stop judging yourself and you almost put yourself into those vulnerable positions even better and even more often because you are not thinking about people judging you. So when you're in the headspace, and I actually think this is like your ego mind that's just really negative and judgmental, and all you're thinking about is outside perspectives and what other people think and whatever. So when you're sitting there judging other people, like even a little bit, even if you're walking down the street and you see someone and you don't like her jacket and you're like, oh, that's an ugly jacket, like stop. Because maybe her mom gave her that fucking jacket. Maybe her mom that passed away 2 years ago gave her that jacket. Like, you actually genuinely don't know. So drop your fucking judgment. Like, take your judgment and take it elsewhere because the more you stop judging people, the less you feel judged. So when you stop judging other people, you stop telling her jacket's ugly or even thinking that her jacket's ugly. You don't even have to say it out loud. It's like when you drop that, you can now wear your jacket that maybe your mom gave you 2 years ago and your mom passed away, and you're not going to feel any fucking judgment around it because you didn't judge her. It's such a cycle. When you're judging other people, it's so negative. Like it's coming from such a negative part of you. And when you drop that, you're able to do whatever you want to do without feeling judged, which helps you be more vulnerable. If that whole train of thought made any sense. Okay, let's go into why being vulnerable actually helps your self acceptance and just your trust for yourself. So, like I was kind of saying, like the judgment to other people, that kind of going into the judgment of yourself and then going into vulnerability. And vulnerability helps you trust yourself a little bit more. So, it helps you trust yourself, it helps you believe yourself. It's mainly because when you're vulnerable with other people and you're telling them your feelings and you're telling them your fears and you're telling them what you're going through or whatever it is, you're not sitting there lying to people. So when I'm not vulnerable with people, someone's going to ask me and be like, "Hey, how are you doing today or whatever. And you're going to be like, no, I'm fine. And yes, there's times when you should be like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm not going to tell you like all of my problems, like my dog just passed away or something. I'm not going to tell everyone that. But when your closest friends are asking and you're just telling them, "Oh, I'm fine. No, it's fine. Everything's fine." And really behind closed doors, you're not doing okay. Maybe you're feeling super lonely, or maybe you're just, you know, not in a good headspace or something, but you're literally just telling them that you're fine. How, like, it takes so much away from that friendship because, and I was actually talking to one of my friends lately about this, about feeling like almost a burden when you're telling your friends that you're depressed or you're not doing well or something in your life isn't going well. And good friends will always be there for you. Good friends will always be there for you. They'll be able to, like, talk you through stuff or just sit with you. Sometimes you don't even need anything. Sometimes you just want to sit and chill and not think about the problems and not think about what you're going through and not think about anything. But how would they know that if you never fucking told them, right? So it's one thing to think you're a burden, but when you're talking to your closest friends, like, they should be there for you and you should be there for them. And that's another thing that I'm learning recently is when your friends are there for you, you should also be there for them. So I don't care what you're going through in your life. If even if you're going through like the best time ever, maybe you're getting married and you're like, living it up. You're, I don't know, you're having your bachelorette, whatever you guys do. And one of your friends, I don't know, their long-term boyfriend just cheated on them or something. Bitch, you better be there for her. Like, even if you are getting married and whatever, it's great. And I think she should suck it up at some of your parties and stuff. But also, you should be there for your friends. I bet you if your husband and you get divorced, she's going to be there for you. Like, it just works that way. I'm totally getting off track. But okay, I also want to talk about how being vulnerable can come up in just different times in your life. And it's really fucking hard when you have low self esteem or you're not feeling yourself. I went through this the last couple months and you are trying to be vulnerable. However, being vulnerable will help you get out of that space. And I've learned that recently. Not vulnerable in a negative way. And this is what I kind of want you guys to understand before we get off. So, when you're being vulnerable and it's in a negative way, you're almost just asking for attention and sympathy and whatever it may be. When you're being vulnerable and you're using it to get out of the space you're in, it feels a little bit different. It feels a little bit more positive, and your vulnerability it comes up in different ways. So, for instance, if you were in a negative space and maybe I'm just going to go from like my experience the last couple months. So when I was in the negative space, I was being vulnerable in the sense of, I was talking a lot about my mental health. I was talking a lot about what I was going through, but I wasn't using it to help me. I was almost using it to just complain and be negative and be like, everything sucks, basically. And when you're going about it in that way, nothing's ever gonna fucking get better and you're not gonna feel better. However, if you take that and you're like, okay, I need to be vulnerable, but I need to do it for me to get out of this headspace, and my goal is to just be more positive and happy and whatever. I would say what really helped me was looking outwards and being like, how can I be vulnerable without trying to get something from it? Almost being vulnerable in the sense of telling other people, like giving other people compliments. So if you're feeling vulnerable or if you're feeling bad and in this negative headspace or whatever, go to the gym and compliment some girls' leggings, but do it to someone that first of all, you actually like their leggings. Guys, I'm not telling you to go to the gym and like lie about shit, but tell her you like her leggings. You're going to get a little bit of dopamine from that. It's not going to fix your problems right away. You're not going to be like, holy shit, I just told this girl I like her leggings. Like, I'm not depressed anymore. No, it's not going to work like that, but you're doing it for other people and you're not doing it for like internal validation. You're essentially doing it to like make someone else's day and just like switch your brain from being so negative and like your ego taking over to being positive and actually thinking, okay, I probably just made her day, which in turn made my day weird. But it also took a lot of confidence, took a lot of courage for me to do that because it's really hard to fucking do that when you don't do that often and when you're in a negative headspace. So, another way that I've been, I guess, kind of vulnerable, which has definitely been helping me, is not lying about shit. Like, we go around, and I think it could be just the way we all grew up and stuff and whatever. Um, Lying about how you're feeling, what you're scared of. It's really weird how when you're really authentic and really yourself and just saying how you feel and what you think and whatever, it gives you crazy confidence because you're like, now I don't have to, I'm not lying to anyone. I'm not even lying to myself. I'm not lying to my friends. I'm telling them literally everything. And like for a while, okay, here, I'll give you an example. For instance, for a bit with the business, I felt like I had to be way more ahead than I am for some reason. I was like almost comparing myself to these big companies which eventually will get there. But I think it was so in my head, and the comparison took over, the negative thoughts took over, just how I was feeling about everything and how I felt really behind. And I was like, what the fuck? And it was almost like, okay, well, I can't share different things with the business because, people will judge that and people will think I'm not far enough and people will think I'm not good enough. And that was another huge thing is I didn't feel good enough throughout this whole time, which, oh my God, our brains can really play tricks on us. We're always good enough, you guys. Like, it doesn't fucking matter what you're going through or who you are. Like, if you're a good, genuine person, you should always feel good enough, but we don't all the time. So, um, yeah, I was comparing myself to these huge companies and being like, why am I not there? Like, and then I was like, well, I just have to fake it till I make it, which I think is a great plan. Like, I think it's brilliant. I think to an extent you can fake it till you make it. But I'm not that person. I genuinely don't even think that I could be that person. And I think it makes me almost depressed to be that person that I'm completely not. Like, if I'm lying to everyone about my business or I'm lying to everyone about where I'm at or how I'm feeling or everything, it almost takes me back into that person that I used to be. And I fucking hate it. Like, I hate it. I am like, I want to be genuine and authentic and I want to tell you guys everything that's going on with the business, everything that's going on with me. And since I've been doing that these last few, I would say it's been those last few like weeks. It hasn't even been that long. It's been completely different. I don't know if you guys have noticed like a different vibe with Lifted. It has been totally different. And genuinely, 90% of that is just me being an actual authentic, like telling you guys everything again. So, the next time that you think, you know, should I tell my friend this? Or, should I put myself in this awkward spot? You know, maybe you don't want to tell your friend that you're depressed. I had another friend, and I'm going to tell this story before we end. I had a friend tell me that she was meeting up with one of her, it was a friend of a friend, so they weren't that close. So they were meeting up. I think they were going to like an event that a bunch of other people were going to, and they ended up talking. And after the event, she found out that this girl had been depressed for months and like she really, really wasn't doing well. And she heard that from her friend that wasn't at the event. I don't know. She couldn't make it, whatever happened. And she was like, holy shit, I've been depressed for months. Why did she not tell me? Because I could have literally connected with her way better. They were probably just talking small talk at an event. You know, events. You like, oh, is your food good? Like, is it, you just talk bullshit. But if she would have said something, they probably would have had a better connection. They probably could have become besties. I don't know. But realistically, you always, especially as girls, I feel like the girls will understand that talking about shit and talking about what you're going through helps you so much. Like, we have to talk about things. That's just how we're made. Maybe not all girls, but I feel like it really helps. And I feel like it helps to connect with other girls that are going through the same shit. So maybe next time you're talking to someone or whatever and you're scared to say something, also, maybe you're scared to have a conversation with someone because you're scared of the reaction. But realistically, I think in order for us to stay like, this is going to sound so lame, but it's so true. In order for us to stay our true selves, I genuinely think we have to be vulnerable. Like, you have to have those hard conversations. And I'm learning this in business. In order for my business to go the way that I want it to go, I have to have those hard conversations no matter what anyone's going to say. Like, whatever your reaction is, it doesn't really change the fact that I still have to have this conversation and I still have to make this decision, or I still have to, whatever it is I have to do. You have to have the hard conversations. You have to be emotional. Like, you have to show your emotions. It's maybe not all the time, but it's okay to show them. Like, it shows that you care about something. It shows that, you can connect with other people. Um, when you're meeting other girls, maybe you're new to the gym and you're meeting other girls at the gym. Like, tell them a bit about what you're going through, or tell them a bit about like maybe wait till like the second time you hang out so you don't just like trauma dump on everyone. But I'm just saying, if you guys struggle to make connections and stuff like I used to, be a little bit more vulnerable and show people like actually your true colors. It's okay to have feelings. It's okay to want something. It's okay to have goals. It's okay to also have fears and be scared of the future, or scared of, you know, maybe you're even scared of, I don't know, your boyfriend cheating on you or something. Express that, because I bet you every other fucking girl is too. Anyways, thanks for listening, you guys. Yeah, subscribe, like, comment, and I'll see you guys at the next episode. Bye.